Meng Ting that it was still early in the classroom, and there were only 2 people in the class. One was the class president, Guan Xiaoye, who was the first to open the classroom door. When Meng Ting walked in, Guan Xiaoye was the first to see her. Then the pen accidentally drew a thick line on the paper and stared at Meng Ting like a dumbfounded. Meng Ting to some uncomfortable, but still said gently, "Good morning." She sat down in his seat. Hong Hui noticed that the person next to him sat down, very excited to open the chemistry book. I thought about this elemental reasoning question for a long time yesterday, but I couldn't push it out after filling in the copper sulfate here. Can you? The black water-based pen on the top has been repeatedly modified, proving that Hong Hui has carefully counted. Her long eyelashes droop, pondering for a moment. The answer is in her heart. She took out a piece of draft paper and said in a soft tone, "This is not copper sulfate. Look at the series of descriptive reactions in front of you. And copper sulfate is not the same." She used the draft paper to calculate the chemical formula, thinking clearly, while writing and speaking, afraid to disturb Guan Xiaoye memorization. Her tone of voice is almost soft. "Soon a reasoning problem will be finished. Do you understand?" She raised her eyes and saw the absent-minded Hong Hui's face burst into red, all the way to the root of the ear. Meng Ting to a gentle frown, he hurriedly stammered, "Understand, understand." However, Hong Hui, who loves to learn and is dedicated to learning only, for the first time did not even know what she had said. He is also the same as Guan Xiaoye. His heart was confused by the unspeakable shock. This person is his table Meng Ting. Hong Hui still remembers switching positions and Meng Ting to do the same table. The class group of bad-mouthed cheap boys flirted. Yo Hong Hui, to do with her table. The blessing is not shallow ah. The sight of the words made a mock blind scratching action. Hong Hui is a little angry. Meng Ting to the first place. Nerd's eyes only first place ha ha ha. Before Hong Hui was angry, the girls threw a book over. "You say Meng Ting again, I will go to tell Mr. Fan. Cut. How old? But also tell the teacher." However, in the end no more discussion. In fact, has always been the case. Each class has a part of the hanging students. There are also students of bad character. Few people in the class will take Meng Ting to the eyes of the matter. Most of them are sympathetic to pity, but I don't know why today. Hong Hui suddenly remembered the day that the group of people cheap-mouth flirting with Yanfu is not shallow. The beauty is not shallow. This age of the boys, then rigid to that aspect, is also sensitive. His face burst red. Feel almost unable to sit down, had to absent-mindedly pick up that piece of paper. The first time I saw the paper, I had to look at the process of reasoning in Meng's clean handwriting. Well, after waiting for a long time, it finally calmed down, but not before. Now sitting next to Meng Ting, indescribably awkward, nor is it difficult, is easily distracted. Her eyes are better, surprisingly so beautiful. Meng Ting the classroom and began to practice biological genetic trait inference questions. This year's test paper has not yet become the national paper. The college entrance examination questions are more fixed and set. The last big question in the paper is definitely a trait inference question. In her previous life, she did not participate in the college entrance examination. She studied until the last semester of her senior year, then had an accident, burned and disfigured by the fire, has been in the hospital to recover from injuries. Shortly before the college entrance exam, Shu Dad had an accident. Meng Ting to the wrong college entrance exam. Since the start of life again, she will not let this happen, but also want to study successfully to college. She has the same expectations as other students for this sacred place of university. At 7:10 or so, the class came one after another students. Then all in Guan Xiaoyi Hong Hui a reaction. More than a year since high school. The classroom for the first time as quiet as a chicken, all with an incredulous look at Meng Ting. If at first Meng Ting so beautiful, even though we will sneak a look, will not be frozen into this. The key is the student ID card that was taken at the beginning of high school. After a year of looking at that hot photo, suddenly one day, found that people are a super beauty. The whole person is confused by the contrast. Students came one by one. Some did not pay attention to Meng Ting too. Will be surrounded by students with elbows pushed. Follow the gaze to look over. A face of surprise. She is Meng Ting. Zhao Wancheng and Hong Hui is not the same. She is still sleepy in this second year of high school. Came very late. And so the class came together one after another. She only sleepily gnawed on a bun over. Afraid of the smell of buns, she also finished eating outside the classroom and then came in. She is a rather dull person. Once inside to see Meng Ting, a girl's face instantly red, and then subconsciously thought they went to the wrong. See Hong Hui and Lu Xiaoyi, only to find that they did not go wrong. She is more familiar with Meng Ting. Natural immediately understand that this is Meng Ting. her mouth on the oil cannot wipe, eyes shining brightly in their own position to sit down. Listen, your eyes are well. Mengting to smile and nod. She smiled beautifully, glittering large eyes slightly curved, eyelashes curled. There is a natural shy pure feelings. Zhao Nuanqiang was going crazy with excitement. She used to be afraid of hurting Mengting. She never dared to stare straight into Mengting's eyes, but now she didn't expect her best friend to be such a beautiful beauty. She was so excited that she didn't know what to say. Oh my god, listen to that. Class 14 Shen Yuqing is even better looking. The most important thing to know is that Shen Yuqing is the most recognized school girl. The first thing you want to do is to listen to this look, which is the first love that every boy wants to have. The morning is Fan Huiyin's morning study. She walked into the classroom with English books. Frowning face. I have said what? Don't whisper and chat in the morning, but read the English words out loud. You are all in your second year of high school. You have to be responsible for your future. The sound of chatter immediately turned into the sound of undulating recitation of words. Fan Huiyin saw his English class representative, also froze. The class simply exploded as soon as the teacher and Mengting left. The class exploded with chatter about Meng's better eyes. She looked at Mengting. Her expression was as stern as ever, but her tone was lightly caring. Are your eyes well, Mengting? Mengting to nod. Fan teacher, although I think it is not right to judge people by their appearance, but still frowned and reminded. Today you should go to the flag speech. The birds on the wudong tree jumped up to the branches, combing their feathers with their beaks. Mengting carefully to Mr. Fan's speech, but Mr. Fan suddenly spoke not to go. Sigh. Alas, this child, you look good. It is not possible that because people become good-looking will not allow her to speak. Where is the speech? Mengting to take out to Fan teacher to see. Fan teacher nodded after reading satisfied. Mengting to write very positive energy. Cannot pick any fault. Seeing Mengting to the student card hanging around his neck. Fan teacher took a look at the photo, felt that this what broken technology. Waved his hand. Let Mengting to go back to the. There is a rule in this year. Every Monday flag raising to elect a student representative to speak. And this student representative by default for the first in the class. When it was Meng's turn in the first year, the head teacher, considering Meng's situation, hesitantly said, "Ms. Fan, why don't you change someone in your class?" Fan Huiyin shook her head disapprovingly. Mengting very well. If the school replaced her because of her eyes, the students would easily develop an inferiority complex. So every semester when it's the first class, it's always Mengting who speaks. But the good thing is that there are many classes in the school, so each class has the opportunity to speak at most twice a semester. In addition to knowing the beautiful senior sister Lu Yu, few people paid much attention to Meng, at most because of her strange glasses. The day was November 20th. Winter had arrived. The students were wearing thick winter coats under their school uniforms, looking bulky and swollen. The female teachers were so cold that they were rubbing their hands and breathing. The other classes found that the people in the second class today were extraordinarily strange. Basically everyone stretched their necks to look at the stage. With an indescribable excitement, the moderator's clear voice said, "I'd like to invite the student representative of the second-year class, Mr. Meng, to make a speech under the national flag." The following lazily sounded a meaningful applause. Mengting to take the speech notebook to the stage, hold the microphone and speak, voice clear and sweet. "Hello everyone, I am Mengting from the sophomore class, and the title of my speech today is Cherish the Time, Live Up to the Motherland." The standard chicken soup of the school, which makes people drowsy when they hear it. But some people looked over because of this nice voice and standard Mandarin. The morning dew dripped from the branches, and the exhaled breath turned into a white mist in the cold air. The girl on the stage is wearing a simple school uniform, blue and white jacket, black pants, ponytail tied with a hairband, long fresh hair. Air bangs have a few soft and peaceful meaning. She has a good temperament. However, face is better. No matter what age, people always have little resistance to beautiful things. Soon a chattering in front of the open. The top of the head is almost bald. Teaching director topped with a beer belly chided. The back row could not see the smell of gossip. Knowing that something must have happened, they could not see the people on the stage. Some depression in their hearts, but everyone for curiosity to try to pry. Finally came up with a shocking news. It is said that the eyes of the bad Mengting, now the eyes are better. The schoolgirl Shen Yuqing of senior class 12 is even more beautiful. This is not good. The reason why Shen Yuqing is so proud is because of a good skin. Everyone also recognized that she is considered to be one of the more beautiful schoolgirls ever. Then the school flower are good looking. That is not the title of school flower should change hands it. So a magical chicken soup theory. All of them are actually gleaming to listen to the end. Lu Yu shocked to death. She certainly remembered Meng Ting to defeat himself in the Olympic competition, but at that time she comforted herself Meng Ting to but a classmate with eye problems. Now the whole person is almost dumbfounded. If Meng Ting to her, not just good grades then. She remembered that day Jiangrun was full of impatience and told her to get lost, but finally smiled and let Meng Ting to go by water. Heart mixed feelings, hand unconsciously clenched into a fist. Their senior standing behind invisible, but the change of the school flower so big gossip, like the autumn breeze, silently and quickly spread to hear. The 12th class of Shen Yuqing's heart is even more uncomfortable, face suddenly blue and white. Meng Ting to the time to get off the stage, also felt the change that happened, but lived 2 lives, but do not care too much about these. When school ended on Monday, Fan Huiyin took up a class with the physics teacher. The physics teacher, Mr. Deng, said, "I'm in a hurry, too." The students in the first class also felt annoyed. Mr. Deng will certainly not last 2 minutes. Ms. Fan is too strong. Sure enough, not long after, Mr. Deng left. Mr. Fan came in and asked everyone to take out their English books. The class wailed in their hearts. At the end of the school day, there was a piece of incredibly good news. Mr. Fan said, "The school organized a group of warm winter climbing activities. I hope you pay attention to exercise. Just this Wednesday, we went to climb Mount Vanguard." The class cheered, but Meng Ting froze. She remembered this event. That year their class went to climb the Vanguard mountain. "The first thing that I did was to go to the school." And that was when she was already the school beauty of the 7th grade. But at that time Jiang Ren came over to talk to her, and she didn't pay any attention. Zhao Wanqing said that year, "Listen to ignore him. He must be to hang out with Shen Yuqing. See, you look good to hit on. This kind of people, snort, do not learn anything, is not what good people most like to find beautiful women to play just." Meng Ting to nod solemnly, so much so that, in her last life, she thought Jiang Ren was just having fun. Perhaps it is to beg but not to let him chase himself for a whole year, doing a lot of crazy things. Thinking of this Meng Ting to some worry. Jiang Shinobu he will not come this time, right? She thought with uncertainty. Jiang Shinobu lying in the classroom of Li Kai to catch up on sleep. The teacher looked at him several times, in the end did not say anything. Forget it. This kind of rich second generation, love to learn, do not learn to pull down. He Junming found that today Shinobu came especially early. Once he came to sleep on his desk. He Junming whispered, "What's wrong with Shinobu? Usually playing games all night is not so tired." He Han pointed to Jiang Ren's trouser legs, teenage jeans, all the cold winter mud. The corners of He Junming's mouth twitched. He went to plant in the middle of the night said the more he thought of himself the more funny, and finally could not help but burst out laughing. The teacher a glare. He Junming, sovri He forgot that he was still in class and answered in broken English. Jiang Ren woke up already after school. He lazily fell back, leaned on the back of the chair and stretched a lazy. His voice was hoarse. "What time is it?" He Junming reported the time and asked him, "Is Shinobu going to play billiards this afternoon?" Jiang Ren nodded casually. "What did you do last night, Brother Ren?" Jiang Ren did not look at him. "You care about the old man." He Junming touched his nose. He is also curious. Well, when the group went to eat at the restaurant after school, they met several people from the 7th grade, and they are a group of rich kids from the vocational high school. Basically, they don't eat at school. The food street outside is eaten by them. Even the boss knows this group of teenage masters. The few 7 middle school people were discussing the morning flag-raising ceremony. When Jiang Ren went upstairs, he heard the word Meng Ting. His footsteps paused. He Junming also heard, TSK. Look beautiful is different but only one day. It is estimated that she is famous in the 7 middle school. Their school flower is estimated to be replaced. This girl so good looking, chasing her must be more. However, she kind of people. I have seen a lot since I was a child, high and cold. I used to talk to this kind of girls. People are indifferent. I do not know who can. Fang Tan covered his forehead and looked at the silent Jiang Ren, despairing of He Junming's intelligence. The pigs are smarter than him. This 250 fools. This year, the floor is not soundproof. Listen carefully to people can hear when they speak. When they were halfway through their meal, Jiang Ren suddenly went downstairs, and He Han said, "What is Brother Ren going to do?" Fang Tan shook his head. He did not know. Jiang Ren went to the group of 7 students at the table. They saw him immediately quiet down. The reason is no other. This teenager is flamboyant. Silver hair, earrings. The whole body is not easy to mess with the atmosphere. Everyone guessed that he may be the next vocational high school that was expelled from the rich family of Jiang Ren. Jiang Ren smiled. There are a few lazy reckless. Boss over. This table is on me. He turned his head to look at the restless 7 good students. TSK. Don't be nervous, students. Just want to ask you a matter. He gave money to the boss, while offhandedly asked, "You 7 middle school to go climbing mountains." The boys at that table are a bit vain of him. After all, heard the rumors, and quickly nodded. Yes, this Wednesday to the weekend. Several classes go separately. Climbing the school behind the Vanguard Mountain, he saw Jiang Ren listen carefully, almost subconsciously told him all the information he knew. It seems that the senior year will not go, but the freshman and sophomore year will go, and from the sophomore year onwards, 12 classes will climb the mountain as a large group, and go to the top to make a wish to the 100-year-old tree. Thank you. Jiang Ren. They were originally going to play billiards in the afternoon. A group of teenagers rode their bikes and skipped class to go to the busiest shopping street. At that time, the teenagers, with the wind in their lapels, the motorcycle's motor shaking the sky, causing passers-by to either stop and watch to avoid. The cold wind was blocked by his helmet, but Jiang Ren's mind was filled with what he Junming had unintentionally said. She must be the schoolgirl of the 7th grade. She hated herself and didn't even like to talk to him when she had problems with her eyes. Now she is white, nice and pretty. There are many people who like her. For the first time in his life, he felt uncomfortable with the disdainful and annoying glances from passers-by. When passing by the fashion store, Jiang Ren suddenly stopped. He Junming said, "What's wrong with Brother Ren?" Jiang Ren turned his head, took off his helmet and looked at himself in the glass window. The body-torn jeans. A look at what is not a good student. The whole body through the bones of the bad. He and she are not in a world. Jiang Ren pursed his lips, put on the helmet. Not to play billiards. Then where to go? Barber store. Don't follow me. The first year of the mountain climbing activity, the school leadership attaches great importance to this climb. After all, after setting a precedent, may also become a school tradition. However, the safety factor is one of the most worrying points for the school. After all, there are so many students, to ensure that no one has an accident, but also to take a great risk. Therefore, the entire school trip was divided into several days, with 12 classes as a large group and the classroom teacher accompanying the students to restrain them. The school reported to the school board and picked a good day to travel, and there were even a few police cars and ambulances at the bottom of the hill. After another day of classes on Tuesday, the students were looking forward to the trip to Mount Vanguard on Wednesday, which came as scheduled. When Meng Ting to the morning from home, Shu's father specifically advised that Mount Vanguard is very high, the old tree at the top of the mountain. Listen, if you feel tired, you should ask your teacher for leave. You know, after all, the eyes are only good. Too tired when it will be swollen pain. Meng Ting nodded. She knew she could do what she could, so Shu's father told her to put the thermos, umbrella, and lunchbox in her school bag. The thermos was filled with hot glucose water, and the umbrella was just in case. After all, in autumn in H City, it rains all the time. The lunchbox was an egg fried rice that Meng Ting to himself. Shu's father's laboratory was very busy, and the children lived quite independently. In that year, the Vanguard Mountain was not yet developed, so naturally there was no place to sell water and rice on the mountain. Meng Ting to the white and blue lunchboxes at home, washed them, packed the fried rice into them, put on a warm jacket and went out. The same thing, Shu Yang also has a copy. Meng Ting to the blue lunchbox handed him. Shu Yang silently took it, turned around and walked away. Shu's father glared. Brat! He had to tell Shu Yang to take care of his sister again. Meng Ting and laughed as he followed Shu Yang out the door. They needed to gather at the entrance of the school, and after the class president counted the number of students, the 12 classes lined up and set off towards Mount Vanguard. Meng Ting to their class, so they were in the front of the line. The school was humane today, only asking students to pay attention to warmth, not to wear school uniforms. A group of young and vigorous teenage girls under the leadership of the class teacher set off in high spirits. The students were joking around, like birds that had been released from their cages. Excited, Fan Hui-yin shook her head, but also showed a smile. The crowd didn't know when someone was cheerfully singing a song. Meng Ting Tu and Zhao Wanqing walking side by side. Zhao Wanqing from time to time will be inclined to look at Meng Ting to a glance, and then turn away with a red face. Damn, she is still not adapted to here become so beautiful. Hazy mountain morning light. Meng Ting to cheeks are as if there is a kind of soft beautiful light. Not only she is peeking, a class of students also cannot help but look over. The first time I heard them sing, I was a little excited. Listen to you can sing? Mengting froze and nodded his head. The first time I heard you sing, I heard you sing a song. The crowd was winding, and the mountains were at your feet. The life again. Mengting to many youthful faces. Grateful for the life is not easy to come. She was in a relaxed mood, so she didn't spoil Zhang Wanqing's fun, and thought, I can sing not much. You don't mind. She sang softly along the mountain road, from a high place to far away, from a low place to go home. The fleeting joy of turning the wheel. It carried me by chance to meet the moonlight pouring pale white. Her tone is very light, blown by the morning breeze. There is a kind of light trembling sweet. Zhang Wanqing moment listening to dumbfounded. She just casually proposed, but did not expect to hear singing really good. Colorful road signs. No passage warning. Under the sky we are as light as a feather, sometimes is as light as a feather in life. Her voice is so sweet, but not that cloying whine. Around the close people are not singing. Surprised to look over. Mengting to some embarrassment. After singing a bit embarrassed. Zhang Wanqing excited to incoherent. My god na ow ow ow. Listen to you sing well Mengting to her a few moments lost in thought. In fact, she danced and played the piano. Every one of them is more talented than singing. But these things, separated by 2 lifetimes of time, became afraid to touch the memories. This is an old song from a few years ago, called Daylight is Pouring In. Mengting to sing it, but it has a different flavor. At first the students were still excited, but climbing the mountain to a quarter of the time, only to find that the road is far from their imagination to play in the mountains. Zhang Wanqing felt like a fish on the shore will die. Heavy feet filled with lead. I do not want to go. This is more than military training grind people. Not only the students cannot stand it, female teachers are also panting. Even if today we are wearing flat shoes, but the heel still vaguely painful. Fan Huiyin is also tired, but as a class teacher she has to set a good example. Students, teachers often say to persevere, learning and climbing a mountain a reason. Zhang Wanqing is going to vomit blood, whispering in the ears of Mengting. We all understand the reason, but really tired God. Mengting to wipe the sweat on his forehead. The water cups and lunch boxes in the school bag are not light. She also a bit overwhelmed. They began to climb the mountain at 7:30 in the morning. Now it's 10 o'clock, only a quarter of the climb. It's very desperate. Mr. Fan led the way forward. We go up earlier and finish making a wish. The students followed with their heads down, and no one was interested in singing anymore. Not long after, the line of students completely disrupted the order, and some students could not keep up with it. When the teachers came together, they sighed and let the female teachers stay behind to take care of the female students who were physically exhausted, while they led the team to continue climbing the mountain, and many of them breathed a sigh of relief. Ms. Fan, always stubborn, led a class of students up the mountain. Class 1 students, they have a sentence in their hearts, I do not know when to say it. Class 12 in the last, Shen Yuqing's long walked while cursing, climbing what the damn mountain better to take a day off. I learned that the physical strength can stop. She hurriedly asked for leave, this time also do not care about the image, looking for a stone to sit on. The class teacher of that class was an exterminator, so she was so cruel. Her best friend was dumbfounded and slapped her with her hand. What to do, don't bother. Her words stuck in her throat, saw the teenagers far behind their class. Her eyes fell on the foremost teenager, a momentary loss of voice. Jiang Ren hands in his pockets, jacket on the shoulders, there are a few lazy air, chewing gum slowly follow. He is not a student of the 7th grade, yet today he is black hair. No more ordinary inch head. It is that year the male students pulled out of the street to cut a regular hairstyle. When Junming saw it yesterday, the whole person held back the laughter to hold back the madness. Shinobu crazy. Jiangren climbed the mountain wearing black sweatpants and sneakers. His illness makes it difficult for him to restrain his emotions. ADHD since kindergarten, however, also gave this teenager all the blood and strength. They are a group of vocational high school dudes, tired as dead dogs, his black eyes still glowing. Shin Yuqing sat on the stone, for a while felt almost did not recognize Jiang Shinobu. His black hair is very short, and silver hair, when the feeling of gangster is completely different, looks much sharper. Jiang Ren's eyebrows and eyes are wild, there is a hardness that cannot be suppressed, so it looks a bit fierce, but also very handsome and manly, in short, and the bookish atmosphere does not match at all. He was originally a violent temper, now lightly glance at people, there is a kind of extra strong domineering feeling. He Junming tired, crying, no, I also need to rest. He Han laughs, men cannot easily say no, go. Still not a brother. He Junming shyly mixed in the abandoned troops. Anyway, so many people. The teacher cannot take care of, certainly also cannot distinguish between them. A few vocational high school. Shin Yuqing eyes show surprise and expectation. She stood up. Jiangren, you are too. The first thing you need to do is to get a good idea of what you're getting into. There is a sense of threat in his words. After all, these few vocational high school bad boys are mixed into the mountain, and now the team is in disarray before anyone notices them. Jiangren patted Fang Tan's shoulder. Continue to walk forward. Fang Tan also did not intend to continue to walk. TSK, he has a number of heart. So also and he Junming they squatted halfway up the mountain. Jiangren continued to go up. Fan Huiyin finally cannot hold up. No way. Let the students can hold on to continue. After all, up to the people, can get a small flag that can class evaluation plus false conduct points, designed to praise the spirit of tenacity. Zhao Wenqing whispered, we get out of the teacher's view and then rest. Meng Ting to nod, she is not forced to go up the mountain, the key is 2 heavy bags, her shoulders are now sore. When Fan Huiyin was out of sight, they both sat down on the rock. Meng Ting to a sweat, put the bag next on the lap, she took out a thermos cup to drink a few sips. Cool breeze, finally feel much better. Meng Ting to long ago took off his jacket and put it in his school bag. Now he only wore a thin bean green cotton long sleeve, like a delicate spring. Tender little dragonfly. She closed her eyes comfortably, the wind was comfortable on her face, and when she opened her eyes again, she saw the black-haired boy. He stopped in front of her with a smile in his eyes. What a coincidence, a good student. Meng Ting to look at him incredulously, how he still came with. Zhao Wenqing's expression also froze. Meng Ting to a thin body, sitting on a high boulder, legs slightly hanging in the air, wind blowing clothes on her slender body, bring the warm fragrance of a young girl. Her waist is very thin, exposed cheeks and neck are very white, collarbone half exposed, tilted up his face to look at him. His hair. Jiangren perceived her surprised gaze, smiled a little bad, before feeling that old me handsome Meng here cheeks slightly red, how he is so shameless. She turned her head away, and did not talk to him. Zhao Wenqing is afraid of Jiang Shinobu, holding tightly to Meng Ting to the hand of the black-haired Jiang Shinobu. So fierce was so scary. Zhao Wenqing looked around the week and found that they had found a good place to rest. But it was a rare dead end. The students either gave up or left early. Anyway, there is not even a helper around. Jiangren looked at her glittering white cheeks, beautiful as anything, simply attracting people rare, but also found Meng Ting to the words do not want to talk to him. What? In front of her friends feel ashamed to talk to him. He raised his eyebrows, a grip on her slender wrist, pulling people over. Not to go up the mountain? I will take you up you let go. I'm not going up. Jiangren curved his lips. You go up the people cannot add what points. Good students. For the class to win the glory understand. Meng Ting to feel the force on the wrist, and ashamed and angry, my feet hurt, cannot go up. You want to go you go it. Zhao Wenqing looked at the scene in front of him almost cried. She bravely said, Jiangren, you let go of listen, or I go to tell our school teacher. Jiang Shinobu sneered, looked at her eyes, teenage eyebrows sharp, domineering with 3 wild. Zhao Wenqing, disturbed. The first time I saw a person with a bag. Meng Ting to hold up, his eyes with a smile. I'm here, you can go up. Meng Ting to him to pick up the horizontal. The sound of alarm pressed in the throat, his eyebrows with a few deep pressure of gentle smile. The sidewalk said, do not call no, or your teacher came to you cannot explain. Anyway, I have a bad reputation, you cannot. And looked back at the follow-up Zhao Wenqing. Go back. Do not provoke me, will not do anything to her. You follow up but not necessarily. He is like the worst kind of bad guy in the TV series, pinpointing the dead center of people, so that people are ashamed to want to kill him. Meng Ting to grab her heavy bag with one hand, being forced to go up the mountain. She was almost crying with anger. In her previous life, this was not the case. What went wrong? She thought of Jiangren but even dare to kill people. A time of anger and fear. He held her, but not too much effort. Meng Ting to know cannot run away, so I had to say, you put me down. I walked by myself. He laughed. Not tired. You are not tired. This is so awkward He put her down. The mountain was green. The lofty mountain peaks like a faint fairy gas haunted. He could see that she was afraid, holding the bulging bag tightly. Her eyes did not know whether it was pain or fear. There was a layer of faint watery light. 17-year-old girl, like a branch with dew on the flower buds. He did not dye the hair back. How can he still be afraid of him? Jiangren heart irritation. He knows that there is still half of the journey up the mountain. He also does not want to go up the mountain, just want to see her. He knows she does not think much of himself. Junming is right. They are two worlds of people. Today if he did not force her to pull her over, she wouldn't have said a few words to him, but he needed a chance. Even if he was sentenced to death, he wanted to be close. She is so good looking and pleasing. He is in vocational high school. Usually it is difficult to see her side. Jiangren followed halfway up the mountain, just want to stay with her a little longer. Thinking of the heart are flooded with unexplainable pain. He lowered his eyes to look at her. The tone of voice cannot help but lower down. Do not cry, not bullying you. Really want to take you to climb the mountain. I came up once before. The mountain is very beautiful. He did not lie to her. For today, he climbed the Vanguard mountain yesterday by himself. He said he did not understand why. Some things do not do will not be able to resist repeated thoughts. Do the blood will boil. How is the torture? The kind of young, difficult to say feelings, into an inexhaustible force, can be stupid to fight. The forest keeper said there is a path on the mountain. No, you do not like to let your teacher classmates see me. I take you to go there into not. Meng Ting that he did not mean to hurt himself, half nodded his head. So they slowly walked forward. Jiangren silently took her bag and carried it on his shoulder. His jacket had long ago lost to Junming and others. In the end she walked hard. He listened to her breathing, squatted down in front of her. I carry you. Meng Ting to even shake his head. He snorted, black eyes staring into her eyes. Afraid of what are you? Boys are good to a girl, just because they like her. I think it's not the first time she's heard such explicit words from Jiangren. However, she had only met one person in her life who was so open and shameless. And the tips of Meng's ears were red. What kind of words? He has a trifle of laughter in his eyes, deliberately teasing her. She really does not have the face to repeat it. Wrong his gaze. He knew she didn't want to, but it was still far up the hill, and she couldn't walk up there by herself. He gave her back her bag. Come on, carry or carry. If you don't choose, I'll choose. Can she choose to beat this bastard to death? Meng Ting and did not want to go up the mountain. She also did not go up in her last life. There is no reluctance in her heart. He raised his eyebrows, black hair with an aggressive glare, and made a move to re-hug her. The first thing you need to do is to get back to the office. The two thin and soft arms around the time. His heartbeat almost uncontrollably accelerated. The young girl's body is fragrant and warm. He felt her sweat is fragrant. Meng Ting to about every guy wants to have the kind of girl, unlike Junming and the others, who walked for a long time covered in sweat. Meng Ting as far away from him as possible, vainly encircling his neck. He walked as if he had inexhaustible strength. She had never been in love in 2 lifetimes, did not go to college and died that year, was very young. This time and annoyed and ashamed. Jiangren noticed her face away, seems to be reluctant to lean too close to him. He laughed. Think I stink off? She stayed away from him and did not say a word. He could not help but laugh. He does not smell as good as her, but still explained. Dyed hair a little smell. You do not mind. In a few days will be dissipated. In fact, it does not smell, but there is something passionate about him. She keenly perceived the kind of morbid paranoia that is different from the normal people. Jiangren is like a fire from hell, and domineering and obnoxious. She just doesn't like this person. However, the man she disliked was so strong that he carried her and her heavy bag on his back and still walked very steadily. Jiangren along the path, all the way with the autumn cold, listening to the subtle insects of the woods. He was soaked in sweat by the end of the walk, outlining the strong body of a teenager. Meng Ting did not expect to go so far. When they reached the top of the mountain, it was already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. A century-old tree that 3 people could hug stood in the wind. There are countless small red flags flying around, but no one can have the fortitude to take them away. And Jiangren carried her on his back, is the only one to reach the top of the mountain. He is terrible. The teenager gasped and made her sit down under the old tree. His black pupils looked at her, cannot help but laugh. Hey, I did not bring water. Give a mouthful of water into not.